Alright, good day, hi and welcome. Yeah, like I was talking about in the last video, yeah, I've got big trees that need to come down, mostly Manitoba maples, but I got some big stuff that I've got to cut up too for stovewood for people. Not a lot of stovewood, but just, you know, like there was a huge pine that was cut down for one of my clients. I didn't cut it down because I didn't have the saw size enough for it. But when I looked at what was left over, I was like, oh my god, she could burn all that. So I could start cutting that up in November or something like that, mid-November. That'd be great. You know, it would you know, prolong my season a little bit, you know. So like for me to go out and buy a new saw, like it's like a small saw will probably pay itself possibly within a week or so. Like that, like, you know, if I have nothing else to pay for, like, I mean, if I put every cent that I made back into the saw, a big saw, anywhere from 3 weeks to a month would probably pay a big saw. It's just, you've got all these other living expenses and things to do. Now, once I get up to June's living expenses covered, and I could stay, like, say, minimum 6 months ahead, I don't have to grind so much to get ahead. All I have to do is, like, maybe just add an extra $100 a month to my living, you know, to my savings, so that I eventually end up 2 years ahead on my living expenses, right? But I want to always be 6 months ahead so that it gets me through the winter. Because you never know, like sometimes in the winter, what mostly happens in the winter is I have to live off these savings. But if I can work up to, say, you know, the last week of December, or just like, you know, like a week before Christmas or whatever, and then take January, February off, start doing a little bit of work in March, that's fine. Because I really want to I really got to rest my body. Like, you know, like it takes a long time to heal when you get older. You know what I mean? Especially when you work so hard. Like yesterday, I mean, you know, when you see like those railroad workers in the 1920s with the sledgehammers knocking in those you know, those rail spikes, you know, those 6 foot tall rail spikes, and you got like 3 guys just whacking this thing. It's pretty cool to see. But they're, you know, swinging like a 20-pound sledge. Like how those guys did that, they couldn't have lived that long. Like they had to die in their 40s because like their bodies would have been so screwed up. You know what I mean? Like they would, you know, like you completely deteriorate your body, right? And back then they didn't have, you know, well, they had morphine, but they didn't really have the proper painkillers and stuff like that. But yesterday I was like doing a tree stump like that, you know what I mean, with a 6-pound splitting maul, and you know, I'm in pretty good shape, and I know how to throw an axe so that you're not throwing your back out and stuff like that. But even so, like it is just so laborly intensive that like even if you don't feel tired the next day, you go pick something up and it's like you have like no strength, because you're like a wet noodle at that point. You're just, you know, you're fatigued. You know, a lot of people don't realize what fatigue is. Like, you know, like they're like, I feel fine, but it's like, you know, like your dexterity goes, you know, like you're fatigued. You know what I mean? So today I'm fatigued and I'm going to be swinging this thing all day. But that's not as labor intensive. But it all adds up, you know, because like you just never get a break, especially when I do like these 7 days in a row of just intense labor like that. It just really, you know, you need months to recover from it. You know what I mean? Yeah, because like you only get so much movements in your joints. You know, like I think my right rotator cuff is starting to go. So it's like it's not sore all the time. It's just, but when I, you know, when I pull on anything, it's just like everything hurts. Like my elbows hurt, my wrists hurt, my back hurts. Like it's like I'm okay if there's no load on anything, but as soon as there's load, it's just like, oh god, I can't pull. I could pick things up certain ways, no problem, but I'm at that point where like you know, it's like, oh, here's a stump, I can't pull it. You know what I mean? I have to work it out the other way. I could bash it, but I can't pull it. You know, so at some point I'm not gonna be able to throw a sledgehammer or a splitting maul or anything like that. I'll be too, you know, like I'm probably gonna be crippled up by the time I'm like 65. Like, you know, I'll be able to get up and walk around, but I'll need a cane or something like that. I'll be like, you know, my hips will be done, my knees will be done, my back will be done, my rotator cuffs will be done. You know, all that stuff, right? So that's what gets you there. But yeah, so the what slows it down is taking adequate time off for your body. But the problem with that is you can't take time off unless you have money coming in, right? And that's the other problem. So they never have enough money coming in. That's what working class poor means, right? Anyway, I'm gonna go get my provisions.